Hey guys, Marstingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so with the EZA coming up for Goku and Frieza, as always, I am doing a team building guide to help you guys get all the way through. As always with these guides, I go through a bunch of my top picks and honourable mentions. And if there's any units that you think that I missed or should have talked about more, feel free to let me know down below in the comments and we can continue the discussion down there. So, Goku and Frieza. This was the first summonable LR EZA in Dokkan for JP. Obviously then on Saiyan Day we got the STR Broly one for both versions. So technically this is the second one for Global. So you guys are actually kind of familiar with the format already. EZAs for summonable LRs are only 10 stages instead of 30. But you do get 3 stones for each stage completed, so you still get the 30 stones that you would get from a normal EZA, which I know a lot of people definitely would have been disappointed if it only gave out 10 stones. So it's structured differently from a normal 30 stage one. You can't stun at all, ever. You can't lower defense or seal from stage 3 onwards, and you can't lower attack from stage 6 onwards. And then just like a normal EZA, if you choose to go past the final stage for the medals, which in this case is 10, you just get Hercule statues. So once you've done all of these stages, you get all the medals to fully EZA Goku and Frieza. Remember that it's only their like super attack level that goes up for an LR when they EZA, not their actual level, so their stats don't go up or anything like that, but their base stats don't improve, but their passive and other parts of their card do change. You do get a bunch of tech orbs as well, which is good. Obviously for EZAs, chances are you already have the copies that you need, but Global is getting a banner specifically for these guys as well, which JB did not get. Now, I do think that even though post-EZA these guys are really good, I wouldn't say that that banner is necessarily worth summoning on. Now, just like the other LR EZAs, this seems to be the trend going forwards now. So they have almost 2 weaknesses you can see here. So Legendary Power is the attack, and then Universe Survival Saga is for the damage that you receive. So what this basically means is you want to be prioritizing Universe Survival Saga units, because just like a normal EZA, that's the category where you're going to be able to take less damage and obviously survive for longer. But in these LR EZAs, the Legendary Power link enables you to do a ton more damage. So even if you have a really solid, really strong Universe Survival Saga team, if it doesn't have many LRs on it, whilst you can technically survive a little bit longer, it's going to take you way longer to defeat them, and obviously therefore increase the chances that like the wrong unit takes a super attack or something like that. So we'll go through some of the units here. Universe Survival Saga, obviously pretty big category. There's a lot of good LRs. One thing that of course everybody always mentions, so now I feel like I have to put it right at the beginning of these guides, is that yes, this is another stage where you can use Tech Caulifla because she has a 100% chance to dodge. The only thing of course to remember is that she is not an LR, so you're not going to be able to activate Legendary Power if you have her on main rotation, unless you have a bunch of LRs floating in slot 3 to activate that link for whoever you put on rotation with her. So remember to bear that in mind. So in terms of the leaders, obviously we just got on Global the Team Universe 7, who are a representatives of Universe 7 leader for 4 key and 150% to stats. Obviously they have a super int type sub lead, but not an actual like Universe Survival Saga. So you pretty much are stuck with reps of Universe 7, which is a very strong team. I guess there's a couple of decent super int type Universe Survival Saga units, but you probably want to go for the full leader skill. Now these guys are a good pick because obviously they're int, so they have type advantage. You are getting 4 key instead of 3, so if you are bringing a bunch of LRs to take advantage of that Legendary Power bonus damage, you are going to be getting that little bit of extra key for getting those 18 key super attacks. And then of course with these guys, you really want to build them around having like a full reps of Universe 7 team anyway, so they get their full stats. They get extra key with rainbow orbs, and if you get to 22 key or more, they get a bunch of extra attack. I showed them off in a video the other day, and the difference between getting that extra 70% from the 22 key is huge. It can mean the difference at 55% on a full reps of Universe 7 rotation. That can mean the difference between an attack stat of like 3 million and an attack stat of like over 5 million. So it's pretty important that you get at least 22 key for them. And then obviously you only use their active skill when you've pretty much got a full Reps of Universe 7 team. Active skills are really useful for Easy A's because obviously it's just a bunch of extra free damage, so very, very good. Then, of course, we have the Vegeta, if you were lucky enough to pull him. He has a Representatives of Universe 7 lead. He does have powerful comeback, so if you're running double Vegeta leads, you could bring some other, like, type or Universe Survival Saga units, but again, Reps of Universe 7 is going to be the main focus for this guy. He has a slightly higher leader skill than the team Reps of Universe 7, but obviously only gives one less key. Of course, we already know what Blue Evolution Vegeta is capable of. He can get the crits on his super attack, 50% chance to crit, and then any additional is a guaranteed crit after that. He's got very solid stats, very solid defense, builds up damage reduction. Every time you get hit, you're building towards the revival skill. So once he's been hit 7 times, if you start the turn below 50% HP, you can get the revive. Revives are going to be super powerful in difficult Easy A's because obviously you can't use healing items. So if you start off with this guy on turn 1 and can put him in front of a whole bunch of attacks, it sets you up really nicely for actually being able to get that revival skill during the Easy A. And then he also has an active skill which just does damage, and you only have to get to turn 4. You do have to be above 50% HP, so if you get unlucky in the early turns, especially in the later stages, and take a bit too much damage, you might not actually be able to use this. But you are going to potentially be able to use it after reviving, although it ends the turn and goes on to the next turn after you revive. So if you're running Goku and Vegeta, you can potentially revive with one straight into the active skill with the other one on the next turn, which is going to be very good. So then we have the actual Goku and Frieza themselves. So, of course, they are Reps of Universe 7, 177%, so the highest leader skill for that team in the game. They are type neutral in this event, and pre-Easy A, their defense isn't the best. So, I think really you should only be bringing them for this Easy A if they are the best leader that you have by a significant margin. Now, obviously, as you're doing the Easy A, you can upgrade them along the way, but I actually can't remember for LRs which step you get to that increases their passive, because until their passive increases, on their super attack they raise defense after Easy A, so that becomes very useful, and on their passive they pick up a bunch of extra defense, but until they get the ability to get that extra defense, they are going to be a bit of a liability in the event. But like I said, if you're missing any of the good leaders, they do have the best leader skill. So then we have LR Jiren. So if you don't want to go for a full Reps of Universe 7 centric team, you can go for this guy, Universe 11 and Universe Survival Saga. Now, obviously, in terms of Universe 11, there's not many other LRs, so you're probably going to be wanting to run more of an actual Universe Survival Saga team, and then just pack as many LRs into that as you can. So whilst this guy is type neutral, obviously straight out the gate from turn 1, he is a beast. He has tons of defense, tons of attack, gets extra key with each attack received, and then of course he does have an active skill as well. You have to be attacked a bunch of times, and then he's going to get a huge attack buff. As we saw, if you're before a certain stage, you can't lower the enemy's attack, but even if that is the case, he's just giving himself a nice buff, which you can use to help finish off the fight. So nothing really too complicated to say about Jiren. He is, as Goresh coined the phrase, a caveman unit, but he is going to be very powerful in this event. So then we have Ultra Instinct Goku. The only reason he's not like mentioned earlier on in this list is obviously the fact that he's AGL. So whilst he does have a 70% chance to dodge, we've all seen those turns firsthand probably where he just doesn't dodge anything. So obviously in this event, that's going to be a potential big lot of damage because he has type disadvantage against LR Goku and Frieza. Now, obviously if he gets hit 3 times, that allows him to then potentially have his revival skill active, which is going to be very useful. Just like Vegeta, because they have this built-in chance to crit on their supers and then guaranteed crit on an additional 2nd or 3rd super, that helps him get past the fact that he has type disadvantage in terms of damage. So he is still going to be able to potentially perform very well offensively. You just have to be very careful that he isn't getting tons of hits and then not dodging, because he will take quite a bit of damage. Obviously each time he dodges, he gets a little bit of extra defense within the turn. But if it's like the first attack of the turn is a super and he doesn't dodge, on the harder difficulties, it's very likely that he could actually get you killed. So be very careful with where you place him in front of the attacks. So next up we have the STR Kaioken Goku. Now obviously he's a bit of a meme. In this event with type neutral, he's potentially going to take a ton of damage, especially early on. The only reason he's really on the list is because depending on how lucky you got with the actual LRs during this anniversary, you might not have a better leader for the team. So realistically, the only reason I would say to bring this guy along is for the leader skill. Although saying that, of course, with an Easy A, because you cannot heal and you're potentially going to take a lot of damage quite early on, you are going to get the possibility of using his active skill, because you only have to have 59% or less HP with 3 other reps of Universe 7 on the team, which is going to be very likely even if you've thrown 1 or 2 other Universe Survival Saga units in there. And then the Spirit Bomb obviously gives you a bunch of free damage as well as buffing everybody else on that turn's damage. So that could be useful. You just have to be wary of the fact that this guy is not very good defensively. So he's probably only really going to be an option for you if you need that leader skill. So next up we have the STR UI Goku. Not really a huge amount we need to say about this guy. Has the 70% chance to dodge. Each time he dodges, he's building up his stats a little bit. So he's going to be very good as long as he gets some dodges early on. Just like the AGL UI Goku though, of course, there is a possibility, 30% that he's not going to dodge. And so early on, before he's been building up his passive, that could potentially see you taking a lot of damage. But if you get lucky, obviously this guy on a rotation with AGL UI Goku, they can just dodge every single attack that ever comes their way, and you have a complete breeze because they're LRs, so you've got the legendary power damage thing activated, but just remember that that all comes down to RNG. So, next up we have Master Roshi. Now, he doesn't have his Easy A just yet, but at the release of this Easy A, the Extreme Z area for the free-to-play units come out. And the easy areas, although people don't really like them that much, they don't take that long to complete. So depending on how stacked your team is for this event, it might actually be worth going through that Extreme Z area and Easy A-ing LR Master Roshi before you jump in. Because then, once he gets his Easy A, he is an incredibly powerful unit. As long as you have 2 or more Turtle School allies on the team, which pretty much includes any Gokus, so going to be very, very easy to do, then his revival skill is going to be something that's available to you. His is by far the easiest one in the game to actually have activate. The only thing to remember, of course, is you do have to start the turn at 50% or less HP for any of these revival skills. So if you've got the 2 turtle allies, if Vegeta's been hit 7 times or Goku's been hit 3 times, if you started the turn at 51% HP and then you take a super attack and die, it doesn't activate. So you have to be very careful about that. But Master Roshi, very powerful. He does have a Turtle School support passive as well, so obviously whenever he's on rotation with the Gokus, they're going to be even more powerful. So in this team build, whilst he is also a hard hitter, I would say he's probably best off as a 3rd slot floater, but definitely for somebody who needs that extra slot filled on their team, it's definitely worth doing his Extreme Z area and then putting him on the team before you jump into this Easy A. So then we have the LR Blue Boys. A lot of people seem to underrate these guys, but I really like them, especially if you super attack first. They raise their defense to a pretty reasonable level. Now, don't get me wrong, if you only get 1 super attack and get that defense raise, and then they get supered by Goku and Frieza, they're not like crazy tank levels of defense, so they are going to take some damage, but they can get a bunch of extra attacks and crits depending on how many rainbow orbs you pick up. That can make it easier to then have their 2nd super attack trigger, which raises their defense even more. So even in the later stages, they're going to be able to defend reasonably well against normal attacks. You just have to be careful about them getting super attacked. And then once you drop below 50% or less HP, you can use their active skill. Gives you guaranteed 24 key super, extra 70% attack, but it gives you minus 50% defense. So you've got to be very careful about if they're going to take hits on the turn where you want to use the active skill. Now, one strategy that you can use, because it is activated when HP is 50% or less, at that point, if you have a revival unit who has their revival skill available, then obviously you can just kind of throw caution to the wind and use these guys' active skill, get them to go off and do a massive attack, maybe in, say, slot 2 or 3, without having to worry about the fact that with their lowered defense they could then potentially get killed, because then your revival skill will activate. So that's actually a good bit of synergy that you can use with these guys and the rest of your team to do a bunch of extra damage. So next up we have the new LR Frieza and 17. They're a bit lower on the list because they're definitely not as impressive as the other anniversary LRs, but they can still be very good. I've been link leveling them and like playing around with them a little bit, and at 55% they're definitely not terrible, but I don't think they're anywhere near as good as the in-Universe 7 team. They do need time to build up their extra attack and defense and key over time, and obviously Easy A's are normally fairly short events. But, you know, you can get extra crit chance, extra damage reduction, depending how many times they attack in the same turn. So as long as they're not in slot 1 and you get some good RNG, they can still be fairly good defensively. But just like the blue boys, I think it's going to be a case of, like, if they take a super, you could definitely be in trouble. But they could be worth using on the team as another addition. Like, if these are the only LR that you pulled from the new banner, and maybe you only got one of, like, Goku or Vegeta, then it would definitely be worth including them on the team. Next up, we have the Int Topo. So the first, like, I think, is he the first non-LR we talked about other than Kaioken Goku and I guess Tech Caulifla? But he's an Int type, so he's got type advantage. He's really only going to be on the team if you're running the LR Jiren, because he's the perfect link partner for him. He guards all attacks, which I guess he's got type advantage anyway, but on the rotations where he's with Jiren, he's not really going to take any damage. He's buffing Jiren as well as giving him most of his links, so realistically I would only bring this guy if you're running Jiren. Even if you don't have Jiren, of course, you could bring Jiren as a friend and then run this guy to use as his link partner. So then we have the Krillin and 18, so they fall under the same scenario as Roshi, where their EZA will be available once this event comes out. Their defense isn't the greatest, but they have type advantages, is why I included them on the list. Obviously, you could bring Roshi and Tien as well, because they are a support for the team. They're reasonably good defensively, but obviously they're only type neutral. But just bear in mind that all of the free-to-play units are going to have their EZAs once this event drops. And then the final honourable mention here is the Int Super Saiyan 2 Kale, just because she has type advantage and she does provide Universe Survival Saga allies with a buff. So even if you're running pretty much a full reps of Universe 7 team, or you're bringing the Jiren or anything like that, all of those characters are on Universe Survival Saga, so they are all going to be buffed by Kale. So those are the honourable mentions and the top picks for what I think is going to be best here. If we look at the few units that I didn't mention already in the video, like Kale and Caulifla could be good, because with who you're fighting, they're going to get a guaranteed additional super attack. They start to build up dodge chance. Their only problem is they become really, really good defensively much further into events. So you could very easily have them take a bunch of attacks or even a super early on and get you killed. Obviously that covers all of the LRs that are in Universe Survival Saga. You probably want to avoid AGL units as much as you can because of the damage. Although Skinny Boo could be a good option, because in the first few turns he has really good defense and has a 50% chance to dodge. But again, if he gets tagged with a super attack, you're probably going to die. So you're going to have to be very careful about that. We didn't really talk about Frieza. The physical Frieza is pretty good defensively, especially if you have dupes in him. He doesn't link super well with everybody else on the team, although of course he has things like Tournament of Power, so it could be a reason to bring along the Int Angel Golden Frieza, because at least he has type advantage even though his defense isn't the best, and he's going to link up super well with him. But the other thing to remember, of course, is that Legendary Power Link is how you're going to get your bonus damage. So bringing a bunch of non-LRs is not necessarily going to be the quickest way to get through the event. Obviously, Int UI Goku is another one. Definitely a strong honourable mention in terms of the TURs that you could bring. Now, it does mean, because we don't have the same name update yet, you can't bring the STR LR, which I think in this event, even though you would probably argue that in most events against the tech enemy, this Goku would be better, but because you need legendary power to activate in order to really do big damage, I think the STR one might technically be more useful. You just have to get lucky with the RNG. Obviously, STR Goku could just not dodge any attacks and get you killed, and then it's going to very much make it seem like the Int one would have been a better choice, but at least legendary power activating is going to give you that extra damage. This Goku, if you don't have either of the LRs, I guess, this guy could give a decent support. He has built-in dodge after his EZA. And then, of course, STR Kale would be a good option to go along with Tech Caulifla, because she guards, builds up her defense and everything as the event goes on. So that'll be a very powerful rotation. So there you go. Those are the top picks and honourable mentions for the Goku and Frieza EZA. Let me know what your team build is going to look like down below. If you think there's any units we should have talked about in more detail, of course, again, let me know down below in the comments and we can continue the discussion down there. So, that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.